battle. Hollywood is a vehicle that the devil has used to promote this belief system. And we were talking about how people are ignorant of this, and I think a lot of it is because people don't realize, the producers and the people behind the scenes, what their dark hearts are really like. You did a few quotes earlier. I'd like to just read a few quotes here in front of me from some of the famous people from Hollywood, if I could.
Before you do that, let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk about that, okay?
All right.
All right. We'll be right back. Can't get enough of your favorite Grok radio shows? Well, now you can download episodes for free. Check out the Grok Radio program archives at CYIWorldwide.com.
Hi, I'm Donovan the Necker of the JCHC Slam and Don Show. You're listening to Grok Radio.
Hey, what up, y'all? This is Suaveville, the host of the Hip Hop for Your Soul show. You can tune in every Friday night at 6 o'clock Western Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time on Spreaker.com. If you missed all that, you can subscribe to the podcast in the Apple iTunes Store. If you have an Android, you can download the Grok Radio app free in the Google Play, yo. And if you missed all that, you can go on the website, CYIWorldwide.com, and check out all of the archives, all the latest shows that we have on there. Peace.
All right, and we're back. Now, Army Girl, you have some quotes from people in Hollywood. You want to go ahead and give us some things in their own words?
Absolutely. You know, the Bible tells us that we will be in the end days as in the days of Noah, and we know that they were violent. We know that they were marrying. I can't remember the exact scriptures, but anyway, it was pretty debased for God to bring judgment on the world. So anyway, let's hear what Hollywood has to say, this wonderful industry that America loves so well. Here's one from Ted Turner. As the parent of 5 children, I don't need experts to tell me that the amount of violence today on television can harm children. Television violence is the single most important factor contributing to violence in America. I'm just going to read several of these.
Ted Turner's a jerk. Ooh, he's
very
an
powerful and
jerk.
Influential, though. Lots of money
who
behind
owns
this.
CNN, Turner Broadcasting Network, who owns a lot of media outlets.
Mm-hmm. A lot of influence, even in the UN.
Yes.
The director for Basic Instinct. I use violence because I like violence. I'm not someone who backs away from violence. I like to see things destroyed. I like to see what happens when you do something violent to someone else. Steve Allen. TV is leading children down a moral sewer.
Wow.
Wes Craven, who's a very dark influence in Hollywood.
Freddy Krueger.
Among others. Many, many things are dangerous in our world. Commercials and TV are dangerous, and so is the world of sitcoms. But nobody does anything about them because they're tuning in a lot of money. Here's Francis Ford Coppola. I made the most vulgar, entertaining, action-filled movies. Give them a new thrill every 5 minutes. Have everything sex, violence, humor, because I want people to come and see it.
And Natural Born Killers was one that was the most repulsive movie ever made, and people loved it and just think it's a awesome movie.
Yes. And also Wes Craven did the Scream movie, and he said, I never meant it for anything but a wicked film.
He succeeded.
Steven Spielberg. Everything about movies is manipulative. When you walk into the theater, you're buying a ticket to manipulation. The whole process is manipulating something that wasn't until you get into the theater, and then it is. They know what they're doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is there any more quotes?
Yeah, I'm just looking through some of Oliver Stone, speaking of that, which did Natural Born Killers. This movie is great. It makes you want to go out and kill somebody. Ted Bundy, 30 years ago, who was a serial killer. He says, 30 years ago, TV influenced me in what I did. It is scary to me what's on cable TV today. I can't imagine what it could have done to me if I had watched it back then.
Now, that being said, some of these cable shows have, gotten out of control. The Breaking Bad series, which was an incredibly well-written series that was so dark, it's almost hard to watch it. Sons of Anarchy. This last season, they have pushed the envelope. Someone was called a cunt on the show. There was a lesbian scene. There was an explicit gay sex scene. They pretty much say any cuss word. They show, men's behinds on TV now. They show sex happening without, about what a rated R movie would have been 10 years ago. I mean, it's out of control. Absolutely out of control. You have to be very careful if you're a parent, especially what your kids watch. Because maybe I was living under a rock for the last few years, but I was pretty stunned at the kind of stuff that is allowed on television right now. Just stunned. But that's the plan. That was the plan, to get you so desensitized to it that, when they start saying these things on TV, it doesn't faze you. And I'll take, Fight Club, the movie, which I got to say is a movie I just really loved. But when after I watched it, I really started taking note of things. And the movie doesn't happen with many movies, but this movie in particular, I would have a marked different mood after watching it. Like a more violent mood, almost like, yeah, this movie inspired you. Let's go out and be a cult leader, Like, it has a very strong spiritual pull to it. And if I didn't have the Holy Spirit that was saying, look at what you're feeling. Look at what this has done after watching it. I don't know how people can view some of these things and not have that protection over them. Because, some of these things, if it had a pull on me and I could feel a change in my spirit, it's got to be very detrimental to people who don't have the Holy Spirit. And that's a scary thing. It really terrified me when I looked at that with different eyes. And I was like, wow. Just that's a crazy thing, that someone's creation and words and acting on a screen can literally do something to your mood and your attitude.
Well, absolutely. There's studies upon studies that show, the power of advertising, the power of propaganda, the power of visual and audio memories in the brain. Well, and we're very susceptible to this stuff. And this is why advertisers use it. This is what they were talking about. This is big.
Think how many commercials you can remember from a kid. The songs. Recall the songs, word for word, the tune, remember the commercial.
Oh, yeah.
I think of one of them, the Oscar Mayer Wieners. I'm an Oscar Mayer Wiener, and the kids are marching. And I'm like, wow, I can't even remember some Bible verses that I've read over my many, many, many years as a Christian. But I can remember that whole commercial. Word for word, the tune and everything. That's spiritual power right there.
Well, it is.
And I think what people don't realize is if you look at a film from, let's say, the 50s, and you look at one from today, there's a big change in the acting. In the 50s, it was a little more mechanical. You could tell they were trying to act. It's a little phony and a little corny now by today's standards. And the reason is the method of teaching acting has changed. Now they're using this method acting. And when I was in college, I took a course for a couple weeks before I dropped it, and it was teaching method acting. And basically, what they did is they adapted things that were done in biblical times. When they wanted to summon spirits and get more spiritual power, occultic pagans or whatever they were, Babylonians, they would imitate a certain god. They would put a mask on, they would imitate them so that the spirit would indwell them and they would have more power. Well, they've taken these concepts and they've called it method acting now, where you become the character. And you'll hear them all say this: I channeled such and such. I was, and many of them might not even realize what they're saying. But that's what they are indeed doing.
Some do. Oprah Winfrey did.
Right.
She did The Color Purple. She admitted in her own words that she channeled a spirit, an ancient spirit, to inspire her and help her with the role that she played.
Denzel
and we see
Washington
this,
too.
Many of these actors.
James
in fact,
Dean.
It was interesting to see that Leo DiCaprio was at the UN this last week, and
boy, he looks terrible.
Yeah. And he told them, of course he was talking about a particular political agenda, but he said, I'm an actor. I pretend. I'm fake. And that's the thing. They get into these roles. We know that Johnny Depp claimed that he had like 30-something demons that worked through him.
And he won't watch himself on the screen because it scares him, he says.
And it's funny that you mentioned fear because from Robin Williams, back to him, he was interviewed in an interview. And basically, he was a very lonely, single, only child, very demanding father, very neglectful mom, lived in a big mansion by himself, and said that he was fearful and he was lonely. And the interviewer said, well, what are you afraid of? And he said, everything.
And that is a theme, because a lot of actors, there is a theme of fear. Mm-hmm. All kinds of fears. And these are the kind of things that the demons, that they prey on. Mm-hmm. People who are fearful, people who are insecure. And they use them because these people will reach out to their spirit guides, to mediums. The list, if we listed every single person in Hollywood who has said that they use mediums to get roles, that they've done some kind of occult practice to aid their career, I mean, we would list pages upon pages of people who have stated these things. We're not being conspiracy theorists making up, crazy stuff because it seems like that person might be doing something. This is what they actually say. And with this method acting, you are really becoming the character. So what do you think happens when you're in you put yourself in an altered state of conscience and pretend? What do you think happens? That's what these demons prey upon. You hear all these people who say they don't recognize themselves on screen, or they can't believe how they acted in this. It was like something else was controlling them. These are not just cliche phrases. I mean, this stuff really happens. So if they're summoning something when they're writing, because many of them, wake up with dreams of these things, they've been channeled, scripts are channeled, and people are doing method acting and being indwelled by spirits to convey it. And you will see that since the inception of this, acting has gotten very real. It's compelling, which is why we get drawn into it. Think of what it's doing to you. If all of these elements, or some element of what you're watching, was in some way intervened by something satanic, what do you think? Do you really think it has no effect on you? Do you really think it's going to be edifying? Same with a lot of musicians. we have to be careful of what we allow into our spirit.